I'm really curious, like a lot of companies now are trying to innovate, they say, look, you have to innovate, you have come up with stuff, especially in banking and all that stuff. And I don't know, people do not feel like this is a sort of safe to fail, safe to experiment environment, because they are used to, not rock the boat, just do your thing and don't go, too crazy with the ideas. So you have a lot of limitations from management, from the way the things are. So now there is a pressure on them in companies where I work and probably where you work, where they say, look, you have to innovate, you have to come up with startups, you have to do things differently and so on. But the people do not feel safe to try things. I mean, you are learned to do, not rock the boat for a long time, and now you're telling me, okay, I can do this. So how can they feel safe to fail? Do you think the teams where you work were safe to experiment as much as they wanted to do, or there were some limitations? Or how can you make that environment, so that people feel comfortable, like really talking about what happened. Look, I fucked up with this didn't work. Like really open conversation. Don't hide everything. Because there is no other way to.
There are several things that I want to say right now after you mentioned this. So for me, I'm very careful when I use innovation, because it's a very intimidating word. And although it's very fashionable and trendy and quite a buzzword, a lot of companies do this because it's the pressure. Everybody's doing that. Everybody's jumping on innovative project and, coming up with the next big thing. That really adds a lot of pressure to all these guys that you're mentioning that have to take this challenge to completion in an environment that they, exactly as you said, they are not used to that. They are not necessarily given the time to do that. So I would be very careful when I use innovation, and I am very careful when I use innovation. I rarely say I do innovative projects. I say I try to help companies come up with better solutions or better experiences or products, or reinvent something, a process or whatever. And in the projects that I have, and the way that I work is I make things very clear. And we try in the processes there are different methodologies. Design sprint is innovative project, is longer. It depends on the problem that you have, but I'm not going to get into details about that right now. I try to have a buy-in from the stakeholders, and I try to create a team of diverse people. Of course, you will say, yeah, Sherlock. It's good that you come here to tell us that. But I really try to make room for those guys that are in the team to be dedicated to the project. Because you cannot innovate when it's a part-time job.
Right, yeah.
So you need a dedicated team of good people, the right people for that challenge, because when you're talking about innovation, it's something big for the company. So you need very talented people with the good experience and the good mix.
Yeah, but they should be not afraid. I mean, there are a lot of people that are afraid of, going too far, or experimenting. So it's probably your job to. So
there's another thing. How do you put those guys? How do you let those guys know that they are part in this team? Because if it's a burden to be there, and you already have your full-time job, your tasks that are overwhelming, and then you have to be here, it's gonna be a task. It's not going to be something that you want to be part in. Yeah, so there's a mix also in getting the people there, but also letting them know that this is a very challenging, and it's going to be very difficult for them in terms of all the things that they will be doing. But there's also be a lot of satisfaction because the project has this big visibility. I mean, it's something given from the stakeholders, which are C-level or C- level, whatever. But it's an expedition that they can have for the company to conquer new worlds, let's say. But just one second.
Okay.
And what do I do with this team is try to create a bond and a safety zone. We have meetings, weekly meetings, in which, because everybody has assignments, everybody has interviews, everybody has stuff to do, and we need to get back as a group to report to each other, to talk about the struggles that we had, to talk about the experiences that we had, to just learn together as a group, because only as a group we can contribute and we can make a thing, better. We try to create this space in which people initially don't feel good to share the struggles or the failures, but then you try to individually as well, but also in the group, to take those personal matters, because it's a personal matter. When people have struggles, it's something really personal. So there's also a lot of investment into mentoring or being close to these guys to reassure them that, hey, this is the process and these are the regular things that happen. These are regular frustration and these are things that it's normal to feel. To reassure them that everything that happens is not necessarily designed, but this is the way to.
So this type of approach, do you think it works? I mean.
Yeah, I think from my experience so far, it worked. What I do, I'm going to talk. I'm not going to give names, but in a recent project that I have, our belief is that, and especially my belief is that the interviews should be. The team should conduct the interviews with the customers, because you need to be exposed to the customer's voice, and you need to be there with the customer to see what they are struggling. Be it a very important CEO from another company that is your client, or the person that does whatever in your shop. But you really need to be exposed. So in my last project that I had, there was a really important manager who had to conduct the interviews, and they were quite anxious about this, because you're a very important manager in the company, and then you're gonna go and talk with someone who's very important as a client, and maybe it's a CEO and a manager. And then you have really, because when we're conducting design interviews, you're getting into a lot of knowing about that person, also personally, but also the professional struggles and the relationship struggles. And sometimes clients could feel that it's too much.
Mm-hmm.
And the people who have to conduct the interviews know this, or imagine that this question is not okay. I'm not going to be able to ask these questions. The client will just tell me to go away, and they are so reluctant, and they have this anxiety of asking people, and they have to do that. I mean, that's a non-discussion. I mean, it's not something that I'm willing to debate on. But the way I try to do it is I'm every time close to that person until the interview starts. And not necessarily me, because sometimes, because you ask that person to do that and you put that person to do that, you don't have anymore the connection to have that person listen to you, because that person is already frustrated that you're putting them to do that. So what I do is I try to leverage other people that have good connections with this person, and support that person. To ask them to say, hey, you're just doing great. You're doing good. We're gonna be okay. You're not alone in this one.
Keep on telling
them. Yes,
I
try. It's not me. I'm trying to also leverage the group and to create these connections, because when you have someone in the group supporting this person, there's a connection, and whenever you're changing the binomes that are working together, you're also creating the group dynamics that creates this environment in which you not necessarily feel safe to fail, but you feel supported to try new stuff.
That's good. Yeah.
And that's the way I try to approach these longer processes of innovation, which are usually 2 to 3 months, in which you really create this I'm reluctant to say safe environment, but it's a supportive environment to try.
Supportive, yeah. This is an approach. Well, where things start, when I talk to a lot of people, a lot of teams in companies that I talk to, they say, look, when we fail, everybody blames the last guy. That's what's happening. Like they are blaming. If we, succeed with this, they take all the credit, basically. So we're fucked. If we fail, that's how they feel. If you fail, then you have to, pass it to the other guy, so it's not on you, so they don't blame you. So the blame game is really everywhere. So we fucked up because of him, or because of that, or because of. So managing this blaming thing is, being supportive and all that you said, because they have to know that you can be trusted there. Look, you are not the whole company here. We're just these people. So what you said was, they have to commit to this project, and here in this project we have this set of rules, and this is how we do things, and it's not like you are used to do in the other side. This is what in
order to create this or at least to create the opportunity for a success as a company, to give some chances of some project like this to be successful. It's not just the moment when you give the assignment to the group, but I think they also, in all our projects, we really get the stakeholders each 2-3 weeks with the team, that the team has to report back to the stakeholders. And this is a great opportunity for the stakeholders to reassure the guys that, hey, we are supporting you.
So it has to be a very top-down type of thing. So.
They really need this reassurance as supportive.
Yeah.
Because the process itself, it's really difficult.
Yeah,
you're doing a lot of stuff. You're doing a lot of
trying. You're failing. You're doing.
And
we have to pivot. We have to do this. We have to change. And they're not used to that.
Also from my last project, there was a really important stakeholder that told the guys. I was really happy that he mentioned this. He mentioned that this is something that the way we do this right now is something new for us as well. We've tried things before, but exactly this we haven't. So even if everything fails, even if we don't land on an idea or very new, the next big thing product or experience, the process itself is going to still be very valuable for us, because we would have learned a lot of stuff after that. So that was the thing that made the team feel more confident that, hey, we're not gonna get blamed if we don't land on the next thing.
Important.
And
important.
especially because there's another thing, we're not aiming only at one product. At the end of these projects, we deliver up to 5 or 6 business cases. So it's ideas, 5 or solutions.